institution that you're working. And I thought it would be important to cover this, and I asked Bruce to speak to us about this.
You know, I think it's very difficult sometimes to teach leadership. And so a lot of things that we do in the program is actually put teams into situations where hopefully leadership can be developed. One of the things that I do for the Physicians Executive MBA is I run the capstone experience, which is it's a business simulation. It's real life business simulation, that they have to start a company. It's a computer company. And this is physicians doing this, because if they can do it in a computer company, they should be able to run their own practice, right? So they start a company, they run it for 4 years, they actually have to put a business plan together, go out and get venture capital, and all the time they're competing against their classmates in teams. Now, before I get into this, they get to self-select. Now, they've been together for 6-7 months. They get to self-select into doctor teams of 4 or 5 people to compete against their classmates. What do you think is one of the problems of doing that? Who are you going to pick? Probably people you get along with, friends, and maybe not be so diversified. So what I'm going to show you, we have venture capitalist presentations where they sell their business plan, and then at the end of this, they have to give a presentation to their venture capitalists to show them how much money they made or they lost. This team had a number of problems, and it related to leadership. So let me go through this. Here we go. The model of leadership. Now remember, this is their presentation to the venture capitalists, the physicians. All right, this is their company's name was Drive. And by the way, just so we're on the same page, is that a good line below that bar, or should it be earnings per share should be above that bar? Everybody with me? Probably should be the other way, right? Slow start, irrational exuberance, invest in new strategy, and finally they get somewhere, right? That's pretty cool. Now notice these are kind of the segments they're going to market their computer to. They want to start low and go high, but what ends up happening, they have to drive themselves into the lower market. Because again, as a group in a leadership role, they changed their strategy a lot of times, and they were dealing with these struggles internally. You put a group in time pressure in these kind of situations where they're competing for a big prize like trophy, it makes a big difference for the docs, right? All right, look at this. This kind of maps their overall strategy as a team. Do you see that they're the kind of fuchsia line? They were in the toilet section there for a while, and they ended up being in the puzzle, right? So this is the game's interpretation of their strategy. They ended up doing okay at the end, right? But now here's their overview of the team dynamics and the leadership that went on internally. So these are the lessons learned. First of all, the meetings. None of us is as dumb as all of us together. Now, I don't know if you've experienced this in your own organizations, right? But sometimes having people with all the same thought patterns is not a good thing, right? And in this particular group, they had all friends. They decided they were going to go one way, hella high water, and that's the way they went, right? And they didn't really think things through too much. So we'll invest in capacity but not sales, which means in the game you have to open up sales offices to sell stuff, and they decided they didn't have to do that. Overconfidence. Before you attempt to beat the odds, be sure you could survive the odds of beating you. Let's go up to Canada. Hey, there's nobody up there. So as a group, as a leadership moment again, here they're still, as a group, just deciding, by the way, there are 2 people from Canada, so they wanted to do all their work in Canada, right? Well, they didn't really look at the lay of the land and all the information that was given them, and that didn't really work too well. Regret. It hurts to admit when you make mistakes, but when they're big enough, the pain only lasts a second. Now, you've never been in that situation before, right? Well, these guys and their venture capitalists, they as a group decided everybody else was doing a venture capitalist report, and this team decided strategically, the leadership again, we don't need no venture capital at this point. We're good enough to survive without them. Potential. Not everyone gets to be an astronaut when they grow up. Well, these folks finally started realizing, right, that they had to start incorporating some of the learnings of their MBA program, but it was getting a little late, right? But they still tried. We're doing great. We produced 25 computers and sold every one of them. By the way, their competition at this time is probably selling 7,000 to 8,000 computers a day, and they're selling 25. But it's really good stuff, right? Mistakes, it could be the purpose of your life is only to strive as a warning to others. Yeah, you like that? That would be me, right? Well, the other groups, the other physicians in this group, they kind of came, this team became the laughing stock because, again, they were making all these huge mistakes. And, of course, the marketplace, they were capitalizing on this as they went. Good news, we only lost $3 million. Great thing, huh? Delusions. There could be no greater joy than the soaring high in the wings of your dreams, except maybe the joy of watching a dreamer who has nowhere to land but in the ocean of reality. We're getting good at this. Notice they started actually earning some money. They're up to $3 a share. Defeat. For every winner, there are dozens of losers, and odds are you're one of them. Now, you understand from a leadership point of view, this team had a lot of type A people, and they weren't doing very well. And you can understand that team dynamics can get a little heated. So actually being there with these guys, it was interesting to see how some of the leaders stepped up. They had a little fights internally, but they got over that, and they realized that they had to save face and turn this around, right? They had a couple quarters left to make at least a moment that they could shine and show the other classmates that they could do something, right? So 8th quarter, the comeback. So notice they're up to selling 6,000 computers. In agony, they went through a lot of agony. They didn't have any fist fights. But internally, again, I want to tell you from a leadership perspective, this group came together at the end, and you can see by the presentation they did, they kind of made a little light humor of themselves. And this experience, in an MBA setting, again, they had to go through some struggles. They had to decide there's so much information in this, and just like you guys have every day, how do you deal with information overload, right? How do you deal with different personalities? And to do that in a setting that they're in a kind of confined quarters and time constraints really brings those issues out in real time. And I just want to tell you that's some of the things that we've gone through. And I think the folks going through that, including Demetrius, that's the way you really learn when things are going bad, and how do you react to your compatriots makes all the difference in the world. Thanks.